long black hair. Skin is white as snow, and her face is really beautiful, but if you look closely her mouth is slit ear to ear. She is a terrifying woman everyone is afraid of. And he says that he is also afraid of her. And then she calls him, and goes ahead and asks him if she is beautiful, while have her mouth fully opened. And then to her surprise he says it's 20 points. Which gave her a shock and she was blushing. And she goes on by saying that she really tried to make her face more scarier than yesterday, so why hasn't he getting scared? To which he says he couldn't able find any difference. Hearing that she says she is that mouth-slit woman that everyone is afraid of. But he just laughs saying that she should change her approach to scaring people, since he isn't afraid of her. And then he goes on by saying that he is her husband, so why would he be scared of her? Hearing that she was blushing. And his name is Sano Kuchi, who is an 17-year-old. Afterwards she tells him that they are just engaged and not married yet. And then Sano says that it's been a week since she arrived here. And she is even coming in his dreams to scare him. And while saying that he straight up takes the first panel of this manga, saying that it was the scariest she was ever been. And then he asks her, isn't it been 40 years? And then hearing that she says it's been exactly 53 years. And that time she was a well-known urban legend, where everyone is afraid of her. And she goes on by saying that she even became famous on the social media. But they weren't afraid of her. And because of that she was forced to get engaged with him. And then she goes on by thinking that her legend started by a priest spreading rumors. But now that the rumors are fading away she is also going to die. But to avoid that she had taken some actions to extend her lifespan. And there are some families out there living to make the urban legends live. And if an urban legend is about to die they have to get engaged with the head of the family in order to survive. Afterwards she goes on by saying that he is just 17 years old, and she just refused to get married with him. Even though it might be beneficial for her in the long term, she still refuses. And she says she wants to get her power by her own way by scaring people. And she gets more motivated while saying that she wants to hear those helpless screams daily. Afterwards she says it's just a contract that they have between them, which is the first step for her. After hearing that he was just standing there, what does she mean by contract? After hearing that she started to tell him that if only she could scare him before marriage. And then he interrupts by saying that he remembers the contract. Which is if he turns 18, they will be living as a husband and wife, but if she were able to scare him at least once before he turns 18, they will call of this marriage. Hearing that she says that's right. And then he asks her on why she is opposing their marriage. To which she says even if he comes from the exceptional family, he is still a human. And top of that she is not even a human, then how could they get married? And then he shouts at her saying that she is actually worrying about him. Afterwards he goes on by saying that it will be great if everything just works out fine. And then he confesses his love to her. Which really shocked her, but he says that he wants to marry with the person he loves and it will be the best scenario. But she just tells him to stop joking around. Afterwards he says that he also have a condition to make. Which is on top of her trying to scare him. And if she were ever fallen for him. And then he goes on by saying let's see whether if she gets to scare him or he gets to fall her in love with him. In this 1 year, which will be really interesting. And he smilingly says it's a pleasure to meet her. And hearing that she was blushing. And then she shouts saying as if she will fall for him. After a while she was smiling and thinking that this room got good lighting enough to plan strategy which will scare Sano. And while she was thinking about it he came behind her and touches her shoulder. And he was even wearing a demon mask. And seeing that she got scared. Afterwards he just tells to her that he just wanted to have a talk with her. And then he goes on by saying her plan that she was about to set in here. Which shocked her. And then Sano says that he is glad that it only 2 of them, while she is stitching her mouth. After she thinks to herself that she is engaged with the guy that's named Sano Kuchi, and they made a promise which was her to earn her freedom she must scare him at least once. And then he says that she failed again. And then he goes on by saying that these are the antique that he have been collecting out of his hobbies. And then he says maybe because of that he is not afraid of her slit mouth. But this made her shocked. Afterwards she says that she wasn't actually planning anything and he is taking it too far. Since moments before he was holding her slit mouth. Saying that she should just leave it, while she is saying that she should yarn it. But hearing that he says that she is the only one he loves. And he says that it doesn't matter how she looks, she is always beautiful. And this made her to blush, and she was thinking that this is the boy that she is trying to scare. And he was saying I love you again. After hearing that, she asks him if he is making fun of her, and while she is saying that her yarn just ran out. And then she decides to stitch it for now and buy some afterwards. Afterwards he asks her on why she is always walking around with that looks. And he asks her on isn't she prefers to walk around with her mouth slit. To which she says yes. But being like that will also be troublesome, so whenever she doesn't have to use her mouth she stitches it back. And she says that by doing it she is saving some energy to her. But then Sano says that stitching it again and again is what sounds energy consuming. And then she started to say that she can't really help it since it's hard for her to control her mouth. And then she started to shout at him saying if he got a problem with her, since he is always complaining. And then all of a sudden he says that no matter how her mouth looks she is always pretty. Which made her to blush. And then she started to think to herself that this is the first time someone has ever said that. Afterwards he goes on by asking her if stitching up like that bothers her. To which she says that it's like having a strand of hair or like a fingernail. It's like a part of her body. And after hearing that he asks her if he could touch it. And she tells him to touch it, since it's not like she can feel anything. And all of a sudden she got a feeling like something touched her lips. And she quickly opens her eyes. And he was just standing there smiling. And he asks her if she felt his lips. Which really shocked her. And she asks him on what he just did. To which he simply says that he just touched her. And she started to say that he just can't do that stuffs, since they're just engaged not married. And after crashing out for a while she thinks to herself that it's actually not bad and it felt good. But then Sano says that it was actually his finger. And this made her in a disbelief. And she was fallen in the floor. While he was saying that he thought she would be mad if he touched her. Afterwards he leaves the place saying it's time to go back while she was just sitting there in silent. Afterwards she was blushing and thinking it was just his fingers. And at outside he was looking at his fingers which was red. And he rethinks himself of touching her cheeks and also her lips with his fingers. Afterwards at the room she was still there thinking about what was she even thinking back there. Afterwards Sano says that she just felt his lips. And then he goes on by saying that he wants to know everything about her. And then he closes their distance while putting his hands on her hands, but she was thinking that if this continues. But before she could finish that she woke up. And she realizes it's still morning. Afterwards she started to blush thinking why she is dreaming about him. And she goes on by thinking that she knows more about humans and they all are scared of ghosts and spirits. But that guy wasn't got scared when they met at first time. And then she opens the door by saying that she doesn't know what that guy is thinking at all. And then she was shocked to see the old lady, and she says it's the wife. And she goes on by thinking she got her off guard. And she realizes that old lady must be the maid. Afterwards that maid says that Sano left to school. Hearing that she was confused, since what does she mean by school? And then she started to process the information. And she realizes that he is 17 years old. So which means he is now in high school. And then she asks the old lady so he will be back in a couple of hours. And then she goes on by getting happy, since it's her chance to scare him off. And she decides to get into a position to scare him. And then she started to run away saying that she will actually catch him off guard. After running around for a while, she realizes that he is just standing there and not at school. But then a guy was getting mad at Sano. And she realizes that he has a blonde hair and pierced ears. And she started to panic since it looks like he just ran into a scary guy. And she even thinks this happened because he may bumped his shoulder. But she was more shocked to find out that guy is actually talking to someone other than her. After that she started to think on what could have possibly started this fight, which was Sano replying something rude to that guy. And in the end she decides to leave him alone, since he is talking with someone that's dangerous looking. And all of a sudden Sano says he doesn't want to go to that scary place. After hearing that she realizes that Sano is getting kidnapped. And he even mentions scary place, so for Sano to say that he must be really in trouble. And he might even be taken to somewhere. And she slightly blushes thinking that she doesn't want that. And she goes on by thinking that she doesn't care about what other people think about her. And then she started to remove her stitches from her mouth. And she calls both of them. While thinking she is the one that will scare that boy. while she asks them if she is beautiful. But looking at that, the other guy was really scared. And he started to run away by shouting, while she was happily saying that was easy. And then Sano looks at her silently. Afterwards she started to say that he is really pathetic, since he got into a fight, and that she asks him to at least say something. And then she started to yap by saying that she just didn't want to lose to a human, that's why she helped him. Afterwards she started to brag by saying on how her skills were, it surprised him. But he was still silent, and she is still yapping. In the end she tells him to not ignore her. And then Sano Kuchi was still a kid. And it was his classmate, and he was getting mad at him by saying he doesn't care if his family is rich or not. It doesn't make him better than them, and he tells Sano to not look at him. But Sano was just thinking it's such a troublesome, while his classmate is still saying that no one wants to be his friend. Sano was a loner who doesn't have anyone to hang out with. Afterwards Sano was thinking to himself that he doesn't have anyone, while reminding himself that he shouldn't say that. And to his surprise they were scared of something. And he turned behind to see what happened. And it was Miroku, and she asks them if she is beautiful. And when everyone is surprised, but Sano was thinking long black hair and snow-white skin. With a beautiful face, and he goes on by thinking that she is his, but before he could finish it, Miroku wakes him up asking him if he is listening to her. And he was silently looking at her, and then he says it's nothing, and he goes on by saying that he was just thinking on how much he loves her, but this shocked her. And she started to say that why was she is even planning to ambush him. But then he calls her thinking that she probably won't even remember that. And he says thanks to her for saving him. Hearing that, she started to blush. After a while they are walking back to home, and she asks him if he gone to school. But he just says he is done with school. Hearing that, she tells him to go to school since it's just barely 8 in the morning. But he still says that the school is over and he is coming back to home. And after returning home, that guy was standing in their home, while she is hiding behind him. Afterwards he says that he was always apologizing to the teachers because he is not attending the school and skipping them. And he goes on by saying he is not getting away this time. While she was thinking if Kuchi is friend with that blonde guy. But then Kuchi says that he is the one that ran away. To which he says he did it without thinking. And then he asks Sano if that lady is still there. And then she comes out a little, and looking at her he got scared again. And she was thinking whether if Kuchi know him or not. Afterwards he goes on by apologizing, since he didn't knew it was just her fiancé. And he goes on by introducing himself as a bodyguard of the Kuchi. And then he says it's nice to meet the wife of him. And she wondering what does he mean by assistant bodyguard. To which he says that he had been taking care of Kuchi ever since he was a child. And then he goes on by telling him to get back to school. And then he started to say that he doesn't want to go back to that scary place. After hearing that, she asks him if school is really that scary. And she started to panic thinking if he is getting bullied, which he rejected right away. Afterwards he started to say that to go to school he needs to be there before 8 a.m. So to reach there at time, he needs to leave the house at 7 a.m. and then the school finishes at 15:30 and he will be back to home at 17, so which means if he goes to school his time spent with his wife gets reduced by a ton. Afterwards his bodyguard says that he is now a student, so he should prioritize studies over anything. But then Kuchi says that there is nothing more important than spending the time with their loved ones. After hearing that, he gives up and asks Miroku to say something to him. But she was thinking about that humans are afraid of the time, so this might be good to scare Kuchi. And while they were talking about it, the old lady comes out and calls Kuchi. And she started to say that his wife won't like it if he keeps on acting like this. Since she just came here a week ago, and he should be focusing of the studies. After hearing that, both of them were silent for a while. And then he decides to go to school since his wife said him to not skip school. Afterwards both of them were silently looking at him. After that, the bodyguard says it's really weird of Kuchi to be selfish. Because he already got a lot of problems with his family. And then he goes on by saying that ever since he was a child he never talked with anyone, but now it's good since he is at least being selfish. And then he started to laugh by saying he can't believe he is madly in love with Miroku. And then he tells to her that she should take care of him. After hearing that, she asks him if he is keeping a close eye on Kuchi all this time. To which he says that he has been keeping a close eye on him all this time, which Miroku is wondering if he can actually see. And then she started to ask him to show her on how he looks inside that hair. Afterwards he says he can't show his face. But then she still insisted him to show her his face. But hearing that he says it's too soon for that to happen and he is also a shy person. And she tells him to come close to her. And all of a sudden Kuchi comes in and stops her. And he started to say that he looks like this, because that's his character design, so there is nothing they can do. Afterwards he calls her and gives her the yarn that she ran out yesterday. And then he says he got it at the school in the sewing club. While Yuta was wondering did he go to school just to take that. Afterwards receiving that she just looks at it silently. And then they leaves the house. But then she suddenly calls Kuchi and tells him to take care while blushing. But then Kuchi smiles and says he will. But Yuta just looks at it silently. And he thinks to himself that he actually smiles good. And while going to the school he asks him wasn't it nice to have his wife to say bye at him. Afterwards she was asking Yuta on when does he lower his guard. To which he asks back is it because of that dumb game they are having, to which she says it's not dumb game and it's an official contract. And then she goes on by asking him even she sets up an ambush he somehow gets behind her. And sometimes he actually sees through her tactics. And then she goes on by asking him to tell his weak points since they are friends. But when she asked the old lady she dodges the question by smiling. Afterwards he says that Kuchi is actually weak at the morning. And she believed it. Afterwards she comes into his room. And she started to think that humans are actually weak and defenseless at a time like this. And she thinks to herself that it's time to hear him scream. And then she goes on by getting close to him. And she asks him if she is pretty, while showing a menace face. But he just looks at her silently. And he was just looking at silently for a long time. And she realizes that he isn't woken up fully. And then he grabs her neck and pulls her closer. And their face was really close. And then she gets back saying that was really close and she failed to scare him once again. Afterwards she realizes that she haven't removed the yarn. And she decided to remove it, but before she could do that he pulls her near him, and he goes back to sleep while having her near him. But looking at that she started to blush. Afterwards she started to tell him to let go of her. But he just tells her to shut up and sleep. After that she says Yuta or the maid might come in. But Kuchi just says it's Sunday so it doesn't matter. Afterwards while blushing she tells him to let go of her. And she realizes that he is already sleeping. After that she was really blushing and suddenly she remembers Yuta saying that he never talks that much and he even didn't get to know his parents. And she thinks but he still looks relaxed. And while sleeping in the bed she closes his nose. But he started to give some random noise, which made her to panic. And he suddenly tells her to sleep until 10 am, and she also think it doesn't matter if it's once or twice. And in the end she also slept with him. Afterwards he wakes up and was shocked. And he looks at her sleeping in his bed. And this made him to blush really hard. And he thinks to himself how does this even happen? At the next day he asks her if they can eat together, since she is always saying no whenever the topic comes in. To which she says that she is the slit-mouth women, so she doesn't have to eat any food. And then he asks her if she can't eat at all. To which she says it's not like that. And hearing that he asks her on what is her favorite food. After a while, Yuta was really shocked. Since Kuchi was standing there with a lots of red substance on the kitchen. And while cleaning the dust on Kuchi, Yuta asks him on what is he trying to make, to which he says that it's hard candy. After hearing that Yuta realizes that he is trying to make his wife's favorite food. And he goes on by showing him the food he made, by saying it's different from what he wanted to cook. After seeing that Yuta tells him to cut the strawberry rather than smashing them. To which Kuchi started to cut the strawberry, but he cuts himself, which shocked Yuta. And they realized that it's pretty deep cut. Afterwards while being annoyed, Yuta asks him in on why he is trying to cook all of the sudden. To which he says that Miroku never ate food with anyone. And he goes on by saying that he sometimes forgets that she is a different person that has lived a different life than them. And he realizes that she is actually not a human. But he still tried everything he could to get closer with her. But it all turned out to be bad. And he goes on by thinking that he is an useless human. But then hearing that, Yuta says he thought it was for that big plan. But this confused Kuchi. To which he says that he is trying to make her fall in love with him. While she is trying to scare him. So as a plan he is trying to make her fall for him with his cooking. But to his surprise Kuchi says that he just wants to sit beside her and eat the food. But hearing that Yuta was looking at him silently. And he asks Yuta if he doesn't believe him. And this time he says it again by blushing little bit. After seeing that Yuta smiles and says that he will help him out. Afterwards they started to cook something. After a while in the Miroku's room. And she was eating something very happily. And he asks her if she likes the candy. To which she says that she started to eat it, since it's been a while since she ever ate food. And she goes on by saying that it's really tasty, hearing that he decided to take one for him as well. And he asks her if he can have one. And he takes one. Afterwards he started to say that now he knows that she likes candy. He started to think on what he should make next. But she suddenly says next time. Which shocked him. And he asks her if she doesn't need anything anymore. But to his surprise, she says that next time she will make something for him. But she quickly says that she is going to do that as a returning the favor. And she goes on by saying that she is now in a good mood, so she will make something for him. And hearing that Kuchi blushingly says okay. And after a while, both of them are looking at a cooking pot. But to both of their surprise, the food she made was really bad. And Yuta thinks to himself that they are really a perfect match. Afterwards at Kuchi's school, his friends were thinking that he have a girlfriend. And that guy goes on by saying that he might have a girlfriend from another school. And the reason he is always late is also because he is meeting up with her daily. And in the end his friend decides to follow him. And one of his friend asks if it's really that important. To which he says that Sano is actually the popular guy in their school. And he even have a fan club. And rejected all the pretty girls' confessions. Afterwards he gets angry by saying that he will get into a bottom of this one. Since he thought he was a loser who was a loner. Afterwards they comes out saying that they should just straight up ask him and confirm it. But to their surprise he disappeared. And then Sano spawns behind him, saying what are they doing? And this shocked him. And they realizes that they got caught. Afterwards they started to talk to themselves that they should ask him about it. Afterwards with an awkward smile he asks Sano if he is dating someone. Afterwards Kuchi just says he got stuffs to do so he will leave now. And while he was saying that someone calls him. And their classmates looks at her. And it was Miroku saying that he wasn't in the meetup spot. And he looks back and says sorry for making her to wait. But then the guy shouts saying that he told them. And just like he said they are meeting up. But then she asks him on who are they, to which he replies with that they are his classmates. But then all of the sudden that guy comes in, and grabs her hands while asking her on what type of relationship she is having with Sano. And he goes on by asking her if they are dating. And he started to ask a lot of questions. But this made her to get overwhelmed, as a result of making her to blush harder. And while he was asking that, Sano comes in and grabs her hands back. And he started to introduce her name to them but he included his last name to her name. While he is placing his hands on her waist. And he goes on by saying that they have this type of relationship. And he says that they are now going to buy groceries, to make dinner together. And he goes on calling all of his classmates' name, and says see you tomorrow. And after walking for a while, she asks Kuchi on why did he just lied. To which he says he said it little soon. Since by the end of the year, she will be his wife. So it's better for him to say it beforehand to their friends, which made her to blush. Afterwards his classmates was thinking maybe they are siblings. And then all of them realizes that they had a wrong idea, since they are just siblings. Afterwards this guy goes on by getting happy, since Sano remembered his name. And also the one that created the fan club was him. Afterwards they started to talk to themselves. And before leaving one guy looks back thinking that something felt off behind him. And something that looks like a dark figure. Calls their name. And that black figure is looking at them, saying it's unforgivable. After a while she was looking at the pond. And she thinks to herself maybe she is not terrifying at all. And she suddenly snaps back thinking that she should not think like this, otherwise he will win. And she was blushing, while thinking about the name he said earlier. Afterwards she started to give herself a motivation saying that she can scare him off. Afterwards she says that she should start practicing. But he was behind her and asking on what she is going to practice. Looking at him she was shocked, and she lost balance and both of them fell into the pond. After a while she was bathing. And she says it was Kuchi's fault. and he asks her on why she is calling him. But this time she straight up says that it's his fault. And she tells him to not sneak up behind her. But he just says that he came here to take the towel. And then she realizes that he was also soaked wet, so she will come out of the bath soon. But hearing that he tells that she can take her time there, since he is a man so it doesn't matter for him. But she was just blushingly looking at him, while he was saying that it would be bad if she caught a cold. And hearing that she thinks that she can't get sick. And she goes on by thinking that he is the one that's really dumb to say that to her. Afterwards she says that she is the one that pulled him down. So as a sorry, she says that she will do anything he says for once. After hearing that he started to think, and he was thinking for a while, and she was just staring at him. And she remembers the things that happened before and she tells him to not say anything weird. And hearing that he says that she is a pervert. Hearing that she was shocked. But then he says that he won't lay hands on her until they are married, so she shouldn't worry about it. Afterwards he got an idea, and he asks her that they should go on a date tomorrow. And he says it's not like that shopping they did other day. And he asks her by saying if there is anywhere if she wants to go. And in the end she accepts. Afterwards he starts to smile. And all of the sudden he sneezes. After hearing that she decides to leave the bath, but then she slips. And hearing that sound he opens the bathroom door. And her head got a huge injury. And she started to search for her jaw, which fell down. And he imagines that she is searching her jaw like someone searching for glasses. After a while, he comes out of the bath and asks her if she is okay, since they managed to sew it back. Afterwards he says that she should be careful, since she fell down. To which she says it because he sneezed. Afterwards he says that she was worried about him, which he likes about her, and hearing that she was blushing. And then she turns the other way. Then she starts to drink the juice. Afterwards she blushes and thinks that she is having a date with him tomorrow. And while she was thinking about that, something comes behind her. And it was that black thing again. And it says that it heard everything. And it started to cover Miroku. And seeing her, Sano was shocked. And that thing transforms into a man, and he tells Sano to stay away from her sister. After hearing that, Sano was shocked. And then he asks him, "What do you mean by sister?" Afterwards she shouts at him asking him on why he showed up like that. And he goes on by thinking that it's been a year he last seen his sister. And he goes on by saying that the days he goes without looking at her sister is a painful day. And he goes on by saying that he always wants to see her no matter what. Afterwards he goes on by saying that he can't let her marry someone from that family. Afterwards they started to talk to themselves. And suddenly Sano calls her. And he pulls her saying that who is that guy? While he is saying that he shouldn't touch her sister. Afterwards he started to say she is his wife plus it's his home. But then he was also saying what do you mean by wife? Afterwards they started to fight saying she is his. And they started to pull her, and she starts to shout saying she is going to get ripped apart. Afterwards she leaves saying that they should calm down. Afterwards Yuta catches her and says that jealousy is really bad between boys. And then he asks him on who is he, to which Sano says that he works here. Hearing that the boy looks at Yuta suspiciously saying how did he got here? But he just says it wasn't easy. And then he started to shout saying that he is the one that will touch his sister. And after a while, she was introducing him as a little brother of a slit-mouth woman named Mikoto. But then Kuchi was getting angry saying that they are sitting really close. Afterwards she says that Mikoto is known as a urban legend as a walking corpse, but not many people know of him. And she goes on by saying that in the future he will for sure become famous. And hearing that he says it's an honor to receive compliment from his sister. Afterwards Yuta says sorry to him since they didn't know about him. While Kuchi was about to burst out. Afterwards Mikoto says that he will someday become a famous urban legend like his sister told him. And then Yuta asks him on what he thinks about Mikoto, to which he says that he is a zombie that has a good hearing. Afterwards he says thanks to him for taking care of his sister. And then he goes on by saying that he came here for another reason. And he goes on by pointing Kuchi and says it's not acceptable for him to have that thing with his sister. Which was Mikoto hearing his classmates saying that they are siblings. Since when it comes to being a little brother, it should be him, rather than Kuchi. But hearing that everyone was silent, and all of them started to say that he is really weird. While Miroku is saying sorry for his behavior. Afterwards, Kuchi says that he never heard about the younger brother of a slit-mouth woman. And he goes on by asking him on how long have they been related, to which he just says that it's none of his concern. And he goes on by saying that he is still the younger brother of her, and also someone that's really important in her life. Afterwards, he asks Mikoto on what he is going to do after they break up, since he is a self-proclaimed brother. And then with a smug face, Kuchi says that she is his woman. And hearing them fight, Yuta leaves the place saying that he is going to make tea for them. Afterwards, Mikoto calls her and says that they should go back to the legend's house. But then Mikoto says that he can't trust Kuchi, since he is from a family where everybody is nothing but liars. And this shocked Miroku, and she asks him on what does he mean by that. To which he goes on by saying that he heard old rumors going around within the legends, that the humans that comes from the Sano family tricks legends and make them to make contract. And hearing that, she was shocked. And he goes on by saying the old rumors, which was all legends that are married to them, is nothing but a mere tool. And some legends actually chose to perish, rather than getting married. After hearing that, Miroku says that it's actually nothing but an old tale. After hearing that, he says that he heard something that this man said, which was lie. And he goes on by saying that she itself must have doubts about him, since he may say the things that will be most random. And he asks her if there is anything that made her suspect Kuchi. And she started to remember all the time where Kuchi has confessed. And while she was thinking about that, Mikoto still says that he came here because he was worried about him using her, using his lying technique. And then he says that the Sano family is nothing but a liars, which is his true nature. Hearing that, she was convinced by his words. And she straight up asks Sano if everything he said was true. And she realizes that he was just standing there without saying any word. And she thinks to herself that he should act like what he do every day, which is denying them. And all of the sudden, he started to leave the room without saying any word. But before he was about to leave, she calls his name. And he smilingly looks at her. And he says sorry to her, which made her to be shocked. After saying that, he leaves the room, while Mikoto is saying on why he is running away. And while he was still shouting, Miroku was thinking whether if he was lying about it, when he said he loved her. And she starts to think why this small thing is making her to worry more. But then while they are talking about it, they heard a loud noise. And she and him was shocked, thinking what was that noise. And then Yuta comes in. And Miroku asks him on what was that. To which he says that Sano fell unconscious, since he is having an intense fever. Afterwards, he says that Sano really tried to hide it, since he has been sick from his childhood. But because of getting stressed, he finally got knocked out. Hearing that, she was silently sitting beside him. And she was thinking whether if Kuchi was sick all along, while Yuta was saying that's why he was always having a scary face. And he says that Kuchi still tried to hide using weird gestures. And she thinks to herself that he even fell into that pond, which was entirely by her fault. After hearing that, Yuta says that he didn't even notice that, so she shouldn't be worried about it. And he closes Kuchi's face by saying that he did it wrong. Afterwards, Yuta tells her to take care of him, since she will be able to do it 100 times better than he could ever do. After saying that, Yuta leaves the room by telling her to take care of him. Afterwards, Sano wakes up and calls her name. And he gets up and says sorry to her, since he showed her his pathetic side of him to her. To which she says that she never thought of him as pathetic. And he asks her on where is his younger brother is. To which she says he left, after hearing that he was sick, so which means he will come afterwards. Afterwards, while coughing, he says that she might get his cold if she is sitting next to him. To which she says that she won't get cold from human. Afterwards, she thinks to herself that Mikoto told her everything. And she goes on by thinking that she shouldn't ask it now and wait until he gets better. But then Kuchi says sorry to her, since they promised about going on a date tomorrow, which got delayed. And she says they can go on to the date the other day, while thinking if that sorry was for that. And he goes on by saying sorry for another thing as well, which was, whatever Mikoto said is 100% true. And he goes on by saying that his family did acted like a normal one, while tricking the legends. And he says that it's actually right for her little brother to be angry like that, while she was sitting there silently. Afterwards, she asks him about his confessions he did was also a lie. And she goes on by asking him, as per the old tales of his family, did he used to say that word to use her as well? And she asks him if it's just in mere lie to trick her as well. But after hearing that, Sano was confused. And seeing his reaction, she was confused as well. And the Sano suddenly says that he didn't lie about his confessions. And he goes on by grabbing her hands while saying that he really do like her a lot. And after saying that, he was relieved. And he goes on by saying that the old tale actually happened generations ago, and now there is no way they would do that. And he goes on by saying sorry to her for not saying any word about it. But she says she thought he lied to her, because he left a room only saying sorry. Hearing that, he was silent. And he started to sneeze, to which she tells him to not act, since he was fine until now. Afterwards, he goes on by saying that it's true that he is a sick. And he says that he never or ever thought to touch her before marriage. And he says that thought he said was a lie. Afterwards, he says that he started to think about touching her. And he goes on by saying that he has been living in the same roof as the women he loves, and he is actually holding back a lot. But then he says that he got an answer, which was him to be by her side. And he says he wants to touch her, and kiss her, and do many things to her. Hearing that, she was shocked while blushing. And she started to say on, what is he thinking? To which Sano says that's the reaction he wanted to see. Afterwards, he goes on by asking her if she was worried about him lying to her. And he goes on by asking her that if he were to do all the things he just said to her, will she forgive him? Which shocked her. But then he grabs her. And he gets near her. And he was so close to her. But all of a sudden, he got unconscious because of the fever. And she started to panic since she forgot about his fever. And then she tells him to go back to sleep, and she decides to leave the room. But then he grabbed her hands, while she was thinking that she was really dumb, since he always says this type of dumb thing. And she even let others' opinion to wrap her own. And the most dumbest part is her feeling relieved after hearing it. Afterwards, she says that she will stay here for a while. Afterwards, she thinks to herself maybe her brother might come, saying that he heard that if Sano lied in the bathroom. At the next day, Kuchi and Mikoto is playing a badminton for Miroku, and the winner gets her. And the judge will be Yuta, and he was really happy while saying that. And 3 hours before, Mikoto was inviting Kuchi to a duel. After hearing that, Kuchi was just thinking for a while, and he says that Mako is showing up from a random place again. To which he replies with that his name is Mikoto. And then he goes on by asking him to have a duel with him, since she rejected his invite to the legend's house. So they should settle this with a duel, and if he wins, they will call of their engagement, which she was hearing it from behind, and Mikoto asks to Kuchi on what he should do if Kuchi wins. And he tells him to ask him anything. Besides him accepting their relationship, anything will do. Which is he can even kill him, since whatever he is doing is getting in their romance right. Hearing that, Miroku comes in, and says that she doesn't want to lose him again, while he was just happy to see her. And then she asks Kuchi to stop, since he is still sick, to which he says he is okay. Afterwards, Kuchi says that he is accepting the challenge, since he is keep on insisting. And he goes on by saying that he will come up with a punishment later, which made him get upset. Afterwards, Mikoto says that he won't be defeated by a human, hearing that Kuchi says that he is not planning to lose to a corpse. And at the present, and Yuta says that the one that drops the ball will lose a point. And the one that has highest point will be the winner. And they haven't dropped it single time for over 30 minutes. To which Yuta says that he will put time limit on the second round. And then Yuta asks Miroku on why did they choose the badminton, to which she says Mikoto has never lost a match in this game. And she goes on by looking at Kuchi, and she thinks to herself that if things will work out on today. Which the old lady heard her. And she asks Miroku if she is rooting for Kuchi, but the old lady says that she thought Miroku will be rooting for her brother, to which she started to say that she is rooting for her brother. And she wants this engagement to fall apart, since she doesn't want to be separated from her brother again, so because of that she is not worried about Kuchi at all. But Kuchi heard everything, and someone dropped their ball. And to everyone's surprise, Kuchi dropped his ball, and Yuta goes on by saying that he dropped it because he is sick, to which Kuchi asks him he really likes doing the commentary. And then Yuta tells Miroku to paint in his face, since he lost a point. And then he says if she doesn't want to do it, she can leave to her brother, hearing that she decided to draw it by herself. and she was wondering what to draw, since she have never done this before. And all of the sudden she remembers something. And she started draw something, while Mikoto is being happy, since he got a point. After a while everyone was really happy, since Miroku and Kuchi now match perfectly. And hearing that Mikoto was really shocked, since they just said that both of them match now. And he started to say that he is the better match for his sister. But then Miroku started to say that his name is now Slit Mouth Boy. And she started to laugh happily, and Mikoto sees her, and he was shocked. And he was just standing there without speaking anything. Afterwards the next round ended as a tie, because the time ran out. And Yuta was saying that this match was really intense, and then he goes on by asking them on what are they going to do in the final round. But then all of the sudden then Mikoto says that it's enough, since in this battle he was lost completely, hearing that everyone is shocked. And Miroku asks him on what happened to him suddenly, to say he lost. To which he started to say that Kuchi will not be able to make her happy, is what he thought until now. But to see her smile like that, he was the one that's wrong all this time. Afterwards he goes on by saying that he will let Kuchi do anything he wants with him as promised. And Yuta comes in and started to say something, while Kuchi was looking at his wife. And she was looking at Mikoto, with a worried face, and he realizes that. And he started to say that from next time onwards, Mikoto should walk through the front door, since he just barged in uninvited, and always coming in from random crack. And hearing that Mikoto goes on by saying that if he is really okay with it, since he will still try to get in their way. To which Kuchi says that no matter what he says he won't give her back, and make him accept their relationship, since marriage should be approved by the family. Hearing that Miroku was shocked. Afterwards Mikoto apologizes for the trouble he caused them until now. And he kisses her sister in cheek, while saying goodbye, which made Kuchi angry. Afterwards he started to leave while saying bye to everyone. And he started to turn into an black mist. But he fell into the pond. And then Kuchi was thinking he can't even complain, since he just fell into the pond, while Miroku was thinking why he should complain, since all he did was to kiss on the cheek. Afterwards Miroku was thinking to herself that she is happy, since everything worked out fine. And then Yuta asks her if she is sad, since her brother is gone. But then Kuchi says that she shouldn't be sad, since he will be back soon. And at the next day, Kuchi was at the school. And there were new student that got transferred into his class, which was Mikoto. And looking at him, Kuchi was thinking about the thing he said to Miroku, and thinks that he came really soon after some random years before. Slit-mouth women. Two students are getting scared after seeing that slit-mouth women. And they started to run away, fearing for their life. And then Mikoto calls her sister and tells to her that they should return to home, since at midnight. And then Mikoto was really shocked to see her magnificent figure. Who is really beautiful, or is it? And after seeing that he started to think that nothing will change, and everything will go as it is. And at the present day, Kuchi says that she looks rather pretty today, and hearing that she was shocked and couldn't able to speak. And while she was doing it, Mikoto was silently sitting there, and he was about to crash out, while thinking that the things have really been changed. Afterwards Miroku asks him to say that again, while he is saying that her face is really beautiful, that he isn't getting scared at all. And he goes on by saying that it's only making him happy, and she started to get traumatized saying that her face is nothing but pretty. And hearing that Mikoto comes in and says that her face is the scariest thing in the world, so she should believe herself. While Yuta was enjoying the conversation, afterwards Yuta asks him on how did it go, to which he says that he won 12 times, 0 defeats. And then Yuta was wondering, but he's still coming here to play every day. After that Miroku was saying that Kuchi is not getting scared because he is talking to legends more than he speaks with normal human. After hearing that Mikoto says it pains to see his sister like this, and he calls him, and says that it doesn't matter on how dull her attempts to scare him, he should at least get scared once. And he goes on by saying that he should give her advice, since he doesn't care as long as she could scare people, and he tells to Kuchi that he should do his job correctly this time. And suddenly Yuta comes in, and tells Mikoto to stop, since if they ask him for advice, all he would do is throw salt at wounds. To which Mikoto asks Yuta, and tells him to give her advice, while she is sewing her mouth back. Afterwards Yuta says, then what about synergy? which like adding two different tasty ingredients to make something more tasty things. And he goes on by asking her to change the way of scaring him, since in order to scare him all she needs is the right ingredients. And he tells her to talk to him casually, while adding some extras which will scare him. Hearing that she tells him that he is really smart. Afterwards she was thinking about the things that Yuta told her. And she asks Kuchi on what he is afraid of, hearing that he was thinking about it. And suddenly he asks her on what she is afraid of. Afterwards he says that he doesn't know what is qualifies as scary, and he doesn't know on what scares her. Afterwards she asks him on what is he going to do after knowing that, to which he asks her the same question. And then he says that he won't try to scare her, but he just wants to know more about the person he loves. Hearing that she started to blush. And she asks him if he really wants to know. To which he says yes. Afterwards she says that she is afraid of dogs. Hearing that he was stunned. And she started to say that no matter how hard she pushes them back, they always come near her getting excited. And she says that they are doing it because they ate her. And she started to think that Kuchi kind of looks like a dog. After hearing that he thinks to himself so a dog. And he slowly started to come close to her. And suddenly he barked at her. Which scared her. And she started to shout telling him to not come close to her. While Yuta is laughing really hard. And then Yuta says that they're really opposites, and he says that it is somehow making him happy to see them like this. And they were having fun. Afterwards Mikoto says that it's been a year. And hearing that Yuta asks him if he is planning on giving up, to which he says he is not. And then he says that Kuchi will end up getting scared of her. But he just can't picture it right now. Since he haven't seen his sister in her full potential yet. After hearing that Yuta asks him on what is he afraid of. To which he started to think, and says he fears something which is an perfect work of art. To which Yuta asks him if he is crazy. And he rejects it right away. Afterwards he started to think that her immense beauty, and her perfect features, are really scary, and he goes on by thinking that Kuchi just doesn't know about it. Afterwards he thinks to himself that he will never forget that image, which was her standing with a scary face. And he goes on by thinking that his sister has changed completely. Afterwards Mikoto was wondering that they didn't get to know on what Kuchi is afraid of. To which Yuta says that he is afraid of insects. Afterwards at the next day, Miroku was at a call with someone. And they says their name is Mary. And she says, even that slit-mouth woman is asking on what to wear on a date. To which she says that she had a lot going on. So because of that she doesn't know what to wear. And then she goes on by asking her to refer a dress, since she always wears a cute and fluffy outfit. To which she says that's because she is a French doll. And then Mary goes on by saying that, isn't she completely against to this engagement? Hearing that she says they still have a year to decide that. Hearing that she started to say that she have been living for more than 2 eras, a year will pass in the blind of an eye. She is now just a small shadow of her former self. And also an ex-queen of the urban legends. And someone like her to worry about what she should wear on a date is not like her. After hearing that she says that's right, it's not like her. So she will stay true to herself and wear the same dress as always. To which Mary says she didn't mean it that way. After saying that she cuts the call. And she thinks to herself that it's not a good time to call her at this time. Afterwards she started to think that the Sano family, is it really that big of a deal? Afterwards she started to think that she always felt a sensation of disappearing, but for some reason she doesn't feel it anymore. And she goes on by thinking that the urban legends get their power from something called beliefs. And the Sano family was in charge of taking care of urban legends, and they believed that passing down to the upcoming generation about the rumors was really strong. And then she realizes that she is talking with Kuchi daily, without having the fear of disappearing. And she goes on by thinking that she doesn't want to get married with them. And she thinks to herself about Mikoto and Mary warning her about the Sano family. And she started to blush after thinking of Kuchi's name, and thinks that she is not his wife. After that she thinks he is quite normal, even though their family is rich. And she starts to shout saying that he is just a mere human, so whatever he wears for tomorrow will be normal as well. And after thinking about that she realizes that Kuchi always dressed the same, and she started to wonder on what he will wear at the date. And she comes to his room. And thinks that his room is pretty normal. Afterwards she thinks to herself maybe because she doesn't know how to express himself. And she just decides take a look at his wardrobe because she wants to know on what he will be wearing at that day. She then remembers Kuchi saying that she can come into his room anytime. Afterwards she says that she just wanted to see on what he will wear on their date. And after opening the closet, she realizes that every single dress is just same. And she started to search if there is anything different here. And she confirms it that Kuchi won't be wearing anything different than this sweater. Afterwards she starts to leave, saying that she needs to prepare herself. But before closing fully, she looks at it and started to blush, and she thinks to herself that this sweater is clearly fit for a man. And she was looking at it silently. After a while, Kuchi comes home from school, and Yuta says that he is late. To which he says that he was showing the school to Mikoto. After hearing that, Yuta realizes that he is now a student. To which he says that Mikoto was nervous at first, since it was his first time there. And then he goes on by saying that he wants to get recharged by staying with wife. To which Yuta says that she might be in the second floor at his room. After hearing that, he goes to the second floor, was nervous and then he opens the door since it was his first time. And to his surprise, and then he goes on by saying that he wants to get recharged by staying. And he asks her on what she is doing. To which she says welcome home to him, and says that he came at right time. Afterwards she started to ask him on how to put this on, since this thing doesn't even have a button, plus it sticks to her skin. And he asks to her on why she wants to wear it. To which she says that she didn't want to loose to him while being stuck. Afterwards he tells to her to push her head, until he holds it. After hearing that, she started to push it, but she was pushing it in the wrong direction. Looking at that, he started to smile. And she asks him on why is he smiling. To which he says that she won't normally do this type of stuffs. And she was blushing while hearing that. After that he goes on by saying that she sometimes to this type of stuffs. And which makes him think that she is, but before he finishes he starts to laugh saying on how he should say it. But hearing that, she got angry and says that she is not dumb and stupid like he thinking. And he says that he likes it about her. But then her face finally comes out of the sweater. But then all of a sudden he closes the distance. And she was shocked. And didn't said any word. But then he says that it's about time that she should have fallen for him. Afterwards, at the next day, they are at the amusement park. And Kuchi was thinking that he should follow a series of steps, but he just threw it out of the window and he kissed her at the forehead, and he is upset because he did it before getting married. Afterwards he looks at her. And she turned that way. And this made Kuchi really sad. But then Miroku was blushing so hard, thinking that it's so embarrassing for her to look at his face. And she is also nervous because it's her first date. And she slaps herself in the face saying it's all Kuchi's fault. Afterwards she was thinking that she never thought she will become this close to her. While he was thinking that everything was going fine, but in reality it's not. Afterwards she thinks that she did thought about those things about him, while blushing more. But Kuchi was thinking maybe after doing that she may think of him as someone that's pretentious. While she is thinking that she can't put those things into words. While Kuchi is thinking that she actually hates him now. And it's actually awkward between them. Afterwards he takes a ticket for a ride, while thinking on how he should enjoy this date at this rate. Afterwards they were on a roller coaster, and she was really happy. Afterwards she started to say that the roller coaster was really fun. And she started to say that it's like she was flying in the air. Afterwards they says that Yuta told that roller coaster is something not nice, and they realize that Yuta doesn't like getting scared. And then Kuchi asks her on where they should go next. To which she says that they should go to the teacups or carousel, and she started to say many things, and suddenly she notices something, and she asks him if everyone here is human, to which he says yes. After hearing that, she asks him on who are they. And she was shocked, while saying that if this type of humans exists. Afterwards he got an idea. And he drags her to a place while saying that he was planning to buy it later. After a while she was wearing a bunny ears, while saying that it's kind of embarrassing to wear it. But then he asks the shop owner to give him everything they have. To which she says she doesn't need that many. After hearing that, he tells to her that she will look good on everything. Afterwards he says that it feels wrong to give back the things that she tried, so he decided to buy everything. Hearing that, she says she feels guilty to make him buy a lot of things. And then Kuchi smilingly replies with it's okay since he is a millionaire. While thinking that it's all from his savings. And while they were talking, they suddenly heard someone screaming, which was some people running out of haunted house. And she was really happily saying that it's a wonderful place, since humans are running away from it. Afterwards they are inside the haunted house. And he tells to her that it's kind of like a cinema. Afterwards he was looking at her. And she was blushing. And he thinks to himself that he's glad. And all of a sudden someone says that they can't see anything. Afterwards someone was recording the cinema, and they were saying that this will go viral, and Sano realizes on what they were doing. Afterwards Kuchi looks for staffs, and he realizes that there is no one's around. And he tells Miroku to finish the job. Afterwards Miroku calls them. And Miroku tells them to take of that bunny ears, since people behind them can't see. But then that woman was recording in her phone. And to her surprise Miroku was standing there menacingly. And she puts her finger in the camera, by telling her to put it away. And after making them fear for their life, Miroku ran away. And after returning she tells Kuchi to cover her until she sew her mouth back. Afterwards she started to sew it back. And then he says okay, and he tells her to come inside his coat. Several minutes later, everyone is coming out of that haunted house being afraid. And Kuchi asks to her if she was scared, to which she says she wasn't. And she goes on by saying that she actually learned a lot, but time really ran so fast. After that Kuchi asks her if she wants to eat something, since it's almost lunchtime. And he asks to her if they can eat candy, to which she says that she wants to eat that. And he tells her to wait in the bench while he goes to buy the food. Afterwards she thinks to herself that she is glad that they are speaking normally, rather than having trouble to speak like they did at the start. And while she was thinking about that, someone calls Miroku. And she realizes that he is the guy that was Kuchi's classmate. Meanwhile someone was calling Sano as well. And it was that other two peoples. And they asks him if he is here in a date. To which he asks them if they are here together, and they says it's 3 of them. And they goes on by saying that it's fun to hang around together. And the other hand he was apologizing to her, since he invaded her personal space, by asking her many questions. After hearing it she tells him to not worry about it. And she goes on by asking him to not stand all the way over there. And she tells him to sit near him. Afterwards he tells her his name as Inukawa. And she asks him if he is alone, to which he says he came here with his friends. And she tells him that the amusement park is really fun. To which he says that the candy here is really good. Afterwards he goes on by saying that they can do takeout here. So which means he can buy something as a gift from here. And he says that wants to buy gifts for his family and friends, and while he was saying that she was thinking about gifts. But then he was just keeps on yapping, and suddenly he became silent. And suddenly he shouts saying that he actually forgot about the new transfer student, who is named Mikoto Shikabane. But he says that he is number 1 for Miroku. After hearing that she asks him in what does he mean by that, to which he started to say that Mikoto told them about who is the real brother, which is not Kuchi. After hearing that she tells him to take care of him, since he sometimes acts like that, and then Inukawa suddenly remembers something, which is why he included Sano in her name. Hearing that she was silent, while he is thinking that it must have been a joke. And he suddenly looks at her, and she was blushing. And she started to say something while blushing. And she goes on by saying that they are engaged. Hearing that he was shocked. And others were also heard it, and they says now it makes sense. And she was shocked, since Kuchi was also standing there. And she asks him on when did he came her. To which he says it's from the start. And he goes on by saying that it's the first time she ever said that they are engaged. Hearing that she started to blush. And she started to say that she is going to take that back, and it doesn't count. But then he suddenly grabs her hands. And he gave her a kiss in the hands, while telling her to take it back. And she was really shocked while blushing. And they were also shocked. And Inukawa got upset, since he didn't get a good look at it, and he goes on by thinking that he should change his fan club name into Sano and Wife Club. Afterwards his classmates says bye to them while leaving the place. And while they were leaving the other friend tells Inukawa to shut up, since he just barged in from the 11th page. And after they left, Sano gave her something, which was a lot of variety candies. And she was really happy after opening it. And she started to think whether if she can eat it all. And he tells to her that he got a lollipop, which made her happy after hearing that. But before she could take it from him, he says that he got jealous. since it was like she was enjoying herself talking to them even though it's their date, which made her to be shocked. Afterwards he tells to her that this is the last lollipop on the store, so he got it for himself. After hearing that, she started to get upset since she didn't got that lollipop, and she angrily takes one of her sweets and started to eat it really fast. And he turns that way thinking that she got that many of them, but still. And she suddenly calls him, and she says that today was really fun for her. And after looking at her, he says that she got something in her face. After a while, they brought gifts and left. Afterwards Sano was reading something in his book, and suddenly something grabs his legs. And with a scary face someone says good morning. But Sano looks at him disappointed. And he goes on by saying that he is really good at it. To which Mikoto says that it doesn't looks like he is faced at all. Afterwards Kuchi says that Miroku is not home, since she made a promise to him, which she was going out to visit her terrifying friends. And someone was asking her on how did it go. And both of them is asking her to tell her on how did her first date go. And she was blushing. And the place they were hanging out was an abandoned train station. And everywhere they looked there is something lurking in there. And one girl name is Viola, and she asks her on how far did they go. And she goes on by asking her by saying if they hold hands and kissed. And Mary tells Viola to stop it, to which she says that they went on a fair date and didn't do anything like they are thinking about. And she goes on by saying that they just brought many cute things and walked around. After hearing that, Viola laughs while saying that they are really sweet. But she rejected it. And after hearing that, Mary says Miroku is still trying to reject it, even though they sleep together, live together, and also go on a vacation together. And they have so many memories, but she is still saying that she is not interested in him, which shocked her. Afterwards Viola says that she should stop trying to scare him, since if it's the past she would have already done it. After hearing, she taps on the table, and she started to say that her name is Slit Mouth Women, and her sole purpose is to scare humans, and she also swore that she is going to scare him no matter what. And she says that the Slit Mouth Women don't repeat herself, but they weren't listening to her, and started to eat the food. And they just says that she is stubborn. Afterwards they started to talk to themselves, and Mary says if she going to say that, she will lend her a hand. And she goes on by asking her if she hates Kuchi. Hearing that, Miroku was shocked, and says that she doesn't hate him. After seeing her reaction, Viola asks to her, so does she likes him? But Miroku rejects that one as well. And she goes on by saying that he is not even cute or innocent. Afterwards Viola started to say then maybe she can become one. Hearing that, everyone was confused. And she goes on by saying that she wants to become Kuchi's wife. Afterwards Mary says that she shouldn't joke about this, no matter how much she likes younger boys. Afterwards Viola started laugh, but Miroku was standing there blushing really hard, while Viola is saying that's the face she wanted to see. And she started to laugh saying that she was joking. After hearing that, Mary tells to Viola to stop this type of behavior, since Miroku might hate her because of this. After hearing that, Viola started to hug her, by saying that it was for fun so she should not hate her. Afterwards she was apologizing for everything she did, and suddenly Viola gets close to her. And she started to say that she will teach her in how to get back at him. Afterwards Kuchi was at the house, and he tells Miroku to welcome home. And he goes on by asking her if she had fun playing with her friends, while she is just standing there silently. And he started to say that Mikoto came by searching her, but she puts her hands on his back. And she goes on by hugging him from behind. And she tightly holds him, and whispers his name on his ears. After saying that, she was really silent. And both of them were just standing there. Afterwards she got embarrassed and thinks to herself that Viola lied to her, since this is not at all scary. And she started to leave the room by saying that she will now call Mikoto. And she upsetly leaves while thinking that Kuchi didn't even react it. But Kuchi was blushing really hard. And Kuchi's heart was beating really loud, that Yuta, who was in that room from the start, is thinking it's the sound of drums. Afterwards at the other side, Viola was wondering on how did it go, while Mikoto is standing there. Afterwards someone was cooking, and Yuta tells her to cut it into small pieces, and she was sincerely taking notes. And she goes on by asking him that making rice dango is really easy. Afterwards Yuta was teaching her on how to make the food. After she tells Yuta her thanks and also sorry, since she dragged him here to teach her on how to make this food. Afterwards he says that she is doing it for Kuchi, right, while thinking that he is afraid to let her cook alone. Afterwards he asks to her that if this is part of her plans, and she says yes, and goes on by saying that she won't be able to scare him for a while, to which Yuta asks her if she lost hope. To which she says that Kuchi has exams coming up, so she doesn't want to scare him when he is working hard. And she says that she doesn't have anything to do, so she thought she will make him snacks. Afterwards she says it's so fun to make food. And then Yuta says that he will now boil them. And while he was doing that he tells her to bring soya sauce and more things from the refrigerator. After hearing it she was happy since he was trying to add so many flavors. And she leaves the place saying thanks to Yuta for teaching her. But before she leaves the room she stops. And she started to say that Yuta is really a nice guy, since he can cook and do laundry, after hearing that Yuta says it's making him blush. After hearing that he says that he is not a housekeeper, but he is a bodyguard of Kuchi, and this work he is doing is for that old lady's things to do, but he doesn't care about it. While Miroku was thinking that she forgot about it, since Yuta is always doing the chores. And she decides not to make him get upset. Afterwards Yuta started to say that he doesn't really know how to cook at the start, which shocked Miroku. And he goes on by saying that he doesn't even know how to cook eggs, but his wife taught him everything. Hearing that she was confused, and she asks him on what does he mean by wife. And then Yuta realizes that he haven't told her. And he goes on by showing his hands, which had a ring in his finger, and after seeing that she was really shocked, afterwards she started to scream. And then she opens Kuchi's room while asking him if he knows that Yuta is married, to which he says that he knew about it. And she started to say that he has a ring. And after hearing that Kuchi asks her if she wants a ring also, which made her to blush, since it came out of the blue. And she was fully embarrassed while saying that she is talking about Yuta here. And she angrily asks him on why didn't he told her sooner. And she says that she got so shocked that her jaw fell down, that she ran away from there. Afterwards she says that there is lots of questions that she wants to ask Kuchi, and the first one is on who is his wife. But hearing that Kuchi says let's not talk about it. And he goes on by saying that they shouldn't talk about it without him, which shocked her. And she goes on by thinking that she maybe asked something that she shouldn't not have asked. And then Kuchi calls her and asks her on what she is holding in her hands. And she says that Yuta made it for him, since he was studying, but then she asks him in what is he doing here without studying, to which he smilingly says that he couldn't able to concentrate. Afterwards he goes on by saying that while trying to study, he got that urge to clean for some reason. And he tells her to wait for him, since he is about to finish cleaning. Afterwards he asks her on what did they made, to which she says that they made rice dango. And while he was cleaning, Miroku realizes that he got dust in his head. And while he was saying that is the thing he always makes, she was trying to remove the dust. After taking it out she thinks to herself that his head is full of dusts, so she should clean him up. Afterwards she goes on by thinking that his hair is so soft to touch, and she fully started to rub his head, while thinking that Mikoto has more hair. And she closes her eyes thinking which means his hairs are fully broken. But then he calls her name, which shocked her, and says sorry, since all she was trying to do is to clean the dust on his head. After hearing that Kuchi says that he is going to make tea, so he will be leaving first. Afterwards Kuchi sees her walking, and after seeing her he suddenly hides behind the door. And she was happily walking while thinking about Dango. And Kuchi was thinking last time she hugged him, and now this. And he was blushing while thinking that he hopes she didn't notice him. And he goes on by thinking that it's not good for his heart, while someone is standing outside the house. And someone puts knife in the name board, which is in front of the house. And at the next day Yuta was standing in front of the gate, and he was wondering on what it was. Afterwards there were two Miroku was there, and also a giant fish. And it says, which one has fallen for Kuchi, is it slit-mouth women or the sewed one over here? And it asks him again, and he tells to that fish, that both of them is fallen for him. And after hearing that the fish gave him both Mirokus to him since he was being honest. Afterwards sewed Miroku hugs Kuchi from behind. And he was surprised. And the other one says that it's surprised, since he got tensed. Afterwards she grabs his head, by saying it's so cute. And she goes on by closing the distance. And all of the sudden Sano wakes up. and it was that old lady. And after seeing her, Kuchi got scared. Afterwards, that old lady says that she will leave early today, since she got some work to do. Afterwards, Kuchi was thinking it was a weird dream. And while walking through the stairs, he heard someone laughing. Afterwards, Miroku was open her slit mouth, and closing that slit mouth on her will. And she was getting happy while thinking as the time goes, she is getting back her powers. And she goes on by thinking that she can't control this for a long time, so she still needs that yarn. And she was really happy since she got her powers back. And she goes on by thinking that she can't let Kuchi find out about it. But he heard everything. And he thinks to himself that if only she didn't say it out loud. And after seeing him, she says good morning to him. And she asks him if he had breakfast, to which he says that he didn't, and he have to leave soon for the test. And after hearing that, she tells him to at least eat something before going there, and after saying that she tried to feed him apple, but he looked away. Which shocked her. And both of them is standing there silently, and all of the sudden Kuchi dashes out, saying he needs to leave. And at the class, Kuchi was sweating a lot. And he goes on by thinking that Miroku has been trying to scare him for the past days, but it's just making him to fall for her more. And he was really getting down, thinking whether if she is trying to let him fall for her more. Afterwards, the teacher started to panic, thinking that Sano usually finishes the exam pretty quick and sleeps. But now he is worried about something. Is it because he doesn't know answer for a question? But Sano was thinking about the dream he had earlier, and she wasn't acting like how she usually does. And he was really worrying. Since he dreams about it, then something must have been changed. After seeing Sano getting worried, the teacher was getting more worried. And he was thinking that Sano, you can do it, try it. And while he was thinking about that, a student says that the bell have been ringing. And after receiving the answer sheet, the teacher realizes that he aced the exam. Afterwards, Kuchi was being distracted while someone is calling him. And suddenly he was shocked. And he realizes that it was Mikoto, and Mikoto asks him that it's strange to see Kuchi here, since he haven't left as soon as the bell rang. And after hearing that, Kuchi calls Mikoto and asks to him if he is cute. Hearing that, he was angry. And he says, what's with this gross question? Didn't you see yourself in the mirror? After hearing that, he says that someone told him that he is cute in the morning, and after hearing that, Mikoto asks to Sano on what's the matter, and he goes on by asking him to tell him, since it must be about his sister. And after hearing that, Sano was silent for a while, and he started to say that he can't able to read Miroku like a book anymore, since it used to be easy for him, but now he just can't be able to tell. And he tells to Mikoto that he doesn't know how to act around Miroku anymore. After hearing it, Mikoto suddenly says, why don't you call her now? And he goes on by saying that Sano should directly ask her about the reason. And he gave that phone to Sano. And he realizes that they already picked up the call. Afterwards, they says hello. And Kuchi realizes it's Miroku. And all of a sudden, she started to say that he called right on time. And she asks him if she can borrow his clothes, to which he says okay, and asks her on why she needs his dress. To which she says that she fell into the pond. And she goes on by saying that she is now washing her dress, and also she can't find anyone from the house. And he tells her to say on what happened. To which she started to say that she came outside to sit on the sun for a while. And while sitting in there, she got lost in her thoughts. And suddenly a huge splash. And when she woke up, all she could see was fish. And after hearing that, Kuchi remembers his dream from the morning, and he started to laugh. And she tells to him that it's not funny. Afterwards, she was pouting really hard. And while smiling, Kuchi says that she is half responsible for this, since she was acting strange, which made him to wonder about it all this time. And he goes on by saying that she is always acting weird, but she just acted extra weird, that's all. But she just asks him in that she will wear his dress for a minute, and she goes on by asking him on why he called her. But he didn't said any word. And he goes on by saying that he likes her, which made her to blush. Afterwards, he cuts the call saying that he will be home soon. And Mikoto was looking at him silently, and he started to say there is that insufferable expression. And he goes on by saying that this is better. Afterwards, he started to make fun of Kuchi by saying that he is always direct, as if someone had told his soul to be act painlessly. Afterwards, Kuchi says thanks to Mikoto, since he is now feeling lighter than before. Although he still forgot to ask her on why she was touching him so much. Afterwards saying that Sano happily leaves, while Mikoto is shouting on what does he mean by that. And Kuchi just left without saying any word, and while Mikoto is being angry. Someone asks him on what they were talking about, and after seeing them Mikoto realizes it was that 3 peoples. And they started to say that they were right about them being close. And Inukawa says of course they are close, since he is their future brother-in-law. But hearing that Mikoto was really angry. Afterwards a guy asks Mikoto if they played something together. To which he says that they played badminton, which shocked everyone. And after hearing all of that, they invites Mikoto to hang out sometimes. And after hearing that they were talking about visiting a new update on something, so they should go together. And Mikoto asks them if it's okay for him to join. To which they says yes. Afterwards they leaves by saying it's promise, so they will be hanging out soon. And after hearing that Mikoto was standing there silently. And he was blushing a little bit. And he goes on by thinking that it's been several weeks after he started to attend this school. And he thinks to himself that it's not actually that bad. Afterwards his black mist starts to appear, which he controlled it. And all of a sudden someone asks Mikoto if he is not going home. And he looks behind and he was shocked, since it was Kuchi, and he says that he finally found him. And he goes on by saying that they should go home together, since he is afraid to see Miroku's face. And after hearing that Mikoto suddenly says it's pathetic. And after saying that Mikoto started to say that Sano won't address his sister like that. And he goes on by asking him to answer his question, which was what is he doing here? After hearing that fake Sano started to smile, while saying that he told the truth about the Sano family, but Mikoto is spending his time with him, and also attending the same school as him, while having that same type of sharp object which was at the front of Sano's house. And he goes on by getting ready to stab him while saying, Mikoto looks like a human, which is really irritating. Afterwards the teacher in the class says the last period is about to begin, so they should get ready for it. And then the guy sitting next to Sano is asking him something. While Sano was talking with him, he realizes that Mikoto is absent. And while he was wondering what happened to him, Sano suddenly gets a phone call. And he picks it up thinking if it was his wife. And to his surprise it wasn't her. So he took the phone with him until the bathroom. After picking it up, someone says it's Mary, which shocked him. But then Mikoto started to say it was him. And he goes on by telling Kuchi to get back to home as soon as possible. Since if he doesn't hurry, that dangerous guy might get Miroku. After hearing it, Sano was shocked. Meanwhile, that guy was happily walking. And he thinks to himself that he is going to cut that threads that is tying her down. After saying it, he even calls her queen. And at the Sano's house, they were doing some cleaning. And while cleaning, Miroku realizes that there is an album here. After looking at that, the old lady says that's the Sano family's photo album, which shocked Miroku. Afterwards they were looking at that album, and they were just silently watching them. Afterwards Miroku started to laugh while thinking that she doesn't know anyone from that album, while asking the old lady on who is that pretty lady. To which she says that it's Kuchi's mother, which shocked Miroku. Afterwards she says that she had never met his parents, since they have only talked for a couple of times in the phone. To which the old lady says that his parents are really energetic, so she will get close to them in a blink of an eye. Afterwards she was shocked to see a photo of small Kuchi. And she goes on by thinking that he was really cute. After hearing it, the old lady asks to Miroku that he is still cute, isn't he? Which she rejects it. And then the maid says that Kuchi is really trying so hard to make her notice him, which means Kuchi is really in love with Miroku. After hearing it, she started to blush. And all of a sudden she notices something. That everyone in that photo has the same hairstyle. To which the old lady started to say that it's the maids that worked here before. But now there is only one of them is alive. And after hearing it, Miroku asks to her if that's the case, then one of them in that photo must be that old lady. Afterwards, with a happy face, she asks her to tell which one is that old lady. But after hearing it, she just leaves the room, while saying that she still got some cleaning to do in the second floor, and Miroku was shocked since she took that album with her. After that, Miroku started to follow her while asking to tell the truth. But she dodges the topic by smiling. and in the end Miroku gave up. Afterwards, while she was cleaning, Miroku notices something. And it was someone, and they were just standing in front of the gate silently. And to everyone's surprise it was Sano. And after seeing her he just says that he is back home to Miroku. Afterwards, with a creepy smile, he asks her to open the gate for him, since he can't come in. And he goes on by saying that he wants to come inside the house, which shocked her. And she even dropped the broom she was using to clean. In the end she started to walk towards him. Meanwhile Sano was rushing back to home. And while running he remembers what Mikoto told to him on the phone, which was the urban legends doesn't like to attack the humans, since it's useless to do so. And just like he acted before, there is a certain group of urban legends that still believe the Sano's family is bad. And he goes on by saying that he is the one that told the rumor to Mikoto, and as a result he believed him and acted rationally. And also Mikoto says, that guy is against the idea of Miroku getting married. Also he is capable of hurting Miroku. And he goes on by saying that he can't move for certain reasons. In the end he cuts the call while telling him to take care of his sister. Afterwards Kuchi was thinking it's okay if he is the one that's being targeted. And he goes on by thinking about his wife, again and again. At the home, fake Sano got slapped, which cracked his face. And with a serious face, she says, "Who are you?" Afterwards she tells to him that she can't let a stranger inside the house. And also he is letting out an malicious aura. After hearing it he looks at her and he says, "So you noticed it, princess?" And all of the sudden his crack on the face got healed. And he started to say that he hates everyone in this Sano family, so he came here to destroy everything. But he still doesn't have a solid plan to do it, so he just came here. And then he points the finger on her, while saying that the Sano family tricks the legends and torment them before using them. Afterwards he started to laugh while saying that she needs to know more about them. And he goes on by saying that he will tell her everything she needs to know. Afterwards he started to say that it happened couple of generations ago. In that time the head of the family seduces many urban legends and make them his bride. So out of curiosity he went inside to see what happened to them by acting like a human. And to his surprise every legends that tried to rebel got locked up and had no way to escape. But then he's somehow able to get out of there without any injury, but for the others, they just disappeared from this world. And he goes on by saying that Kuchi is also the same, since he also shares the same blood as them. After hearing it she was just looking at him disappointed. And she started to say that she can't be bothered with this, since it's someone else past. And she goes on by saying that she knows Kuchi very well. He is the type of guy that speaks whatever he has in mind. So which means he will never do any harm to her. After saying it she started thinking if it was before she would have believed it, but now she know Kuchi well, so she won't believe those rumors. After hearing it the fake Sano got angry. And he started to mock Miroku. Afterwards he tries to attack her with his weapon. And all of the sudden something comes flying on fake Sano's head. And then the real Sano says to fake Sano to not be rude to her while looking like him, since it's disgusting to see. After looking at him the fake Sano was shocked. And then Sano says, someone like him can't cross the gate. After saying it he tells the fake Sano to get away from his sight. And after hearing it he started to run away angrily, which shocked Miroku since he got away. And all of the sudden Kuchi just hugs her. But she was caught off guard, and Kuchi just asks her if she got hurt. To which she blushingly says that she is okay, and they were just arguing. And in the end she realizes that she can hear Kuchi's heart beat, which was really loud. Afterwards she just hugs him back saying everything is fine, so he doesn't need to worry. After that she opens her eyes and looks at her side, and to her surprise the old lady was looking at them while laughing. And she started to panic while telling Kuchi to let go of her. Suddenly the old lady says it's kind of odd. To which she asks her on what does she mean by that. Afterwards they explained to the old lady on what happened. To which she replies that this all happened because of their family circumstances. And she goes on by saying that she should have told the real truth to Miroku right after she arrived here. To which Miroku says that it's not that important. But then the old lady says that the problem here is it doesn't involve anybody from this family. To which Kuchi calls his wife, and he tells to her that Saya is the one that's involved in this. After hearing it, Saya started to say that she can't keep this hidden from Miroku anymore. Since Miroku is now a part of this family, she should know the real truth. After saying it, she started to say it's the story about a man. Afterwards, she calls both of them, and she asks them to listen to her story. But both of them were confused. Meanwhile, someone was walking through the front gate. And it was the fake Sano, and he was being happy since he was able to enter easily. And while he was being happy, someone calls him from behind. And to his surprise, it was Yuta, and asks to the fake Sano if he is the one that made that crack at the front. After hearing that, fake Sano looks at him, and he was shocked to see Yuta's eyes. Meanwhile, Saya says that the guy that was playing with the urban legends from Sano family happened 3 generations ago. But there was a urban legend that single-handedly took down the family head. But he has been forgotten years ago. And he went by the name Kara Sahibi, and after seeing Yuta, the fake Sano was scared. While that Saya is saying, to anyone that looks at his eyes directly will be turning into a stone, leaving them no chance to fight back. And then it was the past, and there are many maids, and they were talking about the new urban legend that should have been married with the master has gone missing. And they were feeling sorry for their master, since the urban legend just disappeared again. And one of them suddenly says that the brides are disappearing because of a serpent. And while they were talking to themselves, someone was walking towards them, and after seeing him they started to say that he woke up sooner. And after coming near them, he asks to them on where is the missus? To which they tells him that she is in her usual place. And after hearing it, he just leaves the place, while they were just looking at him silently. And in the end they started to think to themselves that he isn't actually evil, who is also the guy that was born in the western side, named Medusa. And also if they look at his eyes, they will be turned into a stone. And while they were saying it, he taps on a girl. And she happily looks at him, and she calls him by Kara Suhibi. And this is the story of a boy and a girl. And back in those days, the Sano family used to grow many plants, and also the guy that was head of the Sano family in the 3rd generation made the family to grow much larger in wealth. And he is a guy that had a good relationship with other urban legends, and also he had a daughter. And his daughter was this girl. Afterwards they started to talk about her painting. And in the end the old Yuta says that he likes the painting, while she was blushingly looking at him. Even though she is a stepdaughter, everyone from the house don't even talk with Yuta from close, except her. And all of a sudden someone comes in and says that they want to join in with their fun too. And to their surprise it was a guy that looks exactly like Kuchi. And after looking at her drawing, he tries to compliment her drawing. And after hearing it, Yuta tells him to admit that he is bad at complimenting others. To which she happily says thanks to him for complimenting her work. Afterwards she started to say that she drawed something that's really unimportant, since if she knew they are going to compliment her, she would have drawed something better. And after hearing it, both of them were silent. And then that guy says to her that in the edge of the mountains there are some flowers blooming. And after hearing that, she looks at Yuta and she says that it will be great to see it by one day. But then Yuta just says, it will be nice to see them one day. And after seeing it, Kataru was just standing there silently looking at them. Afterwards, while walking, he asks to Yuta on why is he holding back, since it's that time where he should have told her that he will take her to that sunflower place. To which he rejects it by saying that he is just a freeloader in this house. And after hearing it, he says that Yuta is not a freeloader, but rather Yuta is his fiancée. After hearing it, he panickingly rejects it. And he goes on by saying that they called it off, right after they met on real life. To which Kataru says the reason he accepted the marriage proposal, because he was a Medusa, since if he is a Medusa it must be a female, to which Yuta says he is just a descendant of the Medusa. But even though he is a boy, he came all the way here to marry him. To which Yuta says that he came here to reject his marriage proposal. But he still goes on by saying that if he wants to get married with someone, it should be lady that's strong and kind at the same time. To which Yuta says that his type is someone so cute that makes him want to protect them. And after hearing it, he points out the adopted child, saying is it someone like her? Which made Yuta to blush as well. After a while Yuta thanks him, since he can spread Medusa's reputation by staying here. And then after opening a door, he asks to Yuta if he is still going to thank him after forcing him to do this. Inside the room there are urban legends that are being trapped. Afterwards, in the time back, when Yuta saw them for the first time, he asks to the ancestor that these legends are his wife's, to which he just says that these legends are not useful to him, so he wants them to be turned into the stone. And also there are many more legends that are waiting to get married with him, so he shouldn't worry about turning some of them into stones. But this made Yuta angry, and he decides to turn that guy into a stone. But to his surprise he blocked his eyes, saying if he turned him into a stone, what will happen to his daughter that Yuta likes? And he goes on by saying that if Yuta accepts his deal, Yuta and his daughter can live happily. After hearing it, all he could do is obey that guy silently. Afterwards he whispers to Yuta's ears saying that he is a good boy for obeying. Afterwards, he asks to Yuta, so that's how he started to turn his own kind into stones. To which Yuta says it's his fault, and he goes on by saying he is really happy to meet that girl, and also if the time comes, he will disappear from this world. After hearing it, Kataru comes in and says it's his uncle's fault for forcing him to do this. And he started to apologize to Yuta. To which Yuta says that he is also guilty for going with this plan, so he doesn't need to apologize. Afterwards, with a determined face, he says that he will help Yuta disappear, but now it's not the right time. Afterwards someone calls him, and to his surprise it was that girl. And she asks to him if he is alright, to which he tells her to repeat that question. Afterwards she asks him if he have a name for the snakes on his back, to which he says that he doesn't have name to them. And he goes on by asking her to name the snakes, which made her to blush. And while she was thinking about the name, Yuta thinks to himself, as long as she is happy that's all matters. And all of the sudden she named the snake as Gorgon Haihakairu, which shocked Yuta, since the name was really big. And to his surprise the snake that she named kisses her. After seeing that every other snakes, and he also got angry on that named snake. And all of the sudden she says that snake was just being honest. After saying it, she started to smile while blushing. After seeing her, he started to think it's just good if he doesn't confess his feelings to her. To which Kataru says that he strongly disagrees with this, since Yuta doesn't know when he will disappear, and also the humans doesn't know it either on when they will die. So in the end the humans and the urban legends are same. After remembering that, Yuta suddenly holds her face. And after seeing her face he started to think it's so white and small. And also it's so soft, but she was just looking at him silently while blushing. And he goes on by thinking that she is really beautiful. In the end he suddenly asks to her if she is ready to die with him. Meanwhile in the mansion, he was wondering on how this legends that got turned into a stone is back to normal. And while he was thinking about that, Kataru comes in, and he was holding the snakes that was supposed to be with Yuta. Afterwards, with a sad face, he says that he wanted to keep this as a memory. And after hearing it, that guy asks to Kataru if he let him get killed. To which he started to say if Yuta were to die, the legends that got turned into stone can actually turn back to normal. So if that happens, everyone can gang up on him, so which means even the head of the family can't escape fighting all legends at once. And he goes on by saying that he will rebuild the Sano family from scratch. After hearing it, he just says that he is sure everything will go right if it was Kataru. And while he was getting attacked by many legends, he just says good luck to him. Afterwards, on the sunflower field, Yuta and that girl was running away. And she started to ask him, it's not like they are dying, and it's more like they are running away from the home together. And she goes on by asking him if he really okay to run away without his snakes. To which he says that he is fine, since he have her on his side. Which made her to blush. Afterwards, Yuta thinks to himself that he never said that he couldn't turn them back to normal. And the real thing that happened there is Yuta and Kataru already asked them to agree to this plan. And he goes on by thinking that everyone accepted their plan without any resistance. Afterwards, Yuta says sorry to her, since he took her with him without explaining anything to her. But to his surprise, she was about to cry. which really shocked him. And then he started to panic, and to his surprise, she started to tap on his chest, while saying that he never tell her the truth. And after seeing her, he then asks to her if she really wants to run away with him, even though he wished to stay there in the mansion, where the three of them is having fun together. After that he tells to her that he can't stay with her, since he is not a human. After hearing it she got angry, and she says that the leaves are red in the autumn, and in the winter the sakura tree blooms, which is really beautiful. Afterwards she started to shout by saying she wants to see all of them with him, since he asked her to die alongside with him. And all of the sudden he hugs her, and he started to say to her that he loves her. After hearing it she became happy, and says that he finally admitted his feelings. Afterwards Yuta asks to her if she is scared of him, to which she says why she should be scared, since she doesn't know anyone that has a beautiful eyes like him, which she loves it very much. Afterwards, while walking, he tells to her that serpents tends to be more possessive, so he will never let go of her hands, to which she says it's okay, since she doesn't want to let go of it either. Afterwards, to current time, Yuta says that the moon is pretty as ever, and it never changed a bit. And all of the sudden that old lady says that she can't believe he is still holding her hands. And he goes on by saying that no matter how old she gets, she will always be the beautiful girl in his eyes. And all of the sudden he stops, and started to say that she got more prettier than before. After hearing it, she says thanks to him for always being by her side. And she goes on by asking him if he will always be on her side, to which he blushingly smiles. Afterwards they started to walk on the streets holding their hands. Afterwards, back in the house, Sano is telling Miroku to come out of that big pot. And after hearing it she suddenly shouts by saying that she didn't know that Yuta was a legend too. And the more shocking thing is, she never knew that Saya was Yuta's wife. After hearing it, Sano says that today was first time he heard the full story. And he goes on by saying that every time he saw them having fun, Sano was jealous of them, thinking he wish he could have fun like them one day. So to put it into words, this might be his life goal all this time. After hearing it she slowly pops out of the pot. And he tells to her that he is getting hope from them, since they can also live a happy life like them. After hearing it she just started to blush.
Afterwards Yuta was shocked to see a kid that looks exactly like Kataru. But then Kataru says he is so mean, because he is not dead yet. Afterwards Yuta says if that small child is his grandson. But then he tells small Kuchi to say hi to Yuta, but he was just staring at him silently, which confused Yuta. And then Kataru says he is always end up looking after small Kuchi, because his daughter is always busy. To which Yuta asks him isn't his daughter works as in head of the school, which was built on the top of the tea leaf field. Afterwards Kataru says because of the school, they only need to scare the kids, and the rumors about the urban legends will spread. As a result, they accomplish their family goal. Afterwards small Sano says he doesn't get bored to see his grandpa's face, since he somehow feels like his reaction isn't 100% innocent, which shocked him. In the end, he suddenly asks Yuta to look after the small Sano after his death, and he goes on by saying that he believes in Yuta. Afterwards, Yuta started to think Kataru dedicated his whole life to mend the mistakes of the former head. Because of that, he spent his entire life carrying the sins of the former head. Afterwards, at the present, that fake Sano got turned into stone, and Yuta was really angry at that fake Sano, while the real Sano is wondering that Yuta is really angry. To which Yuta says that the fake Sano ruined the front door, and also he pointed a knife towards a girl, so it will be weird if he isn't angry. To which Miroku says the fake Sano is being like that for a whole night, and then Sano says they even punched him already, so they should forgive him, but before he could finish it, they heard someone running, and all of a sudden a head comes flying towards the fake Sano, which scared Yuta. Afterwards he looks at it, while wondering is it a ball, and after realizing it's an head, Yuta was once again shocked. But then Mikoto started to shout as well. Afterwards, Miroku asks him if his stitches had come off, to which he replies not only the ones on the neck, every single one of the stitches in his body came off by the fake Sano. And also he did that with a single swing. After putting his body together, he rushed to here as soon as possible. But then Yuta was once again scared after seeing Makoto's body. Afterwards, Yuta turns the fake Sano back to normal. And Miroku was shocked, since the fake Sano was a child. After that, Sano says that he went back to his original form, and his original form is a kid just like he thought. But then he started to say every single one of them had hit him, which means they were hitting a kid, which is illegal. Afterwards, Miroku asks to Makoto if he is his friend, to which he says that he isn't my friend anymore, which shocked the new kid. But Makoto goes on by saying he won't hang out with the people that points their swords at his sister. After hearing it, he started to crash out, and he says that Makoto is the one that's at fault, since he and his sister started to live together with the humans by believing their lies. But Makoto used to be hating humans just like him, and he suddenly started to hang out with the new guy. Because of that, Makoto isn't liar, which shocked him. Afterwards, Yuta says it looks like he is scared that someone might take Makoto away from him, to which he just turns that way. Afterwards, while they were speaking, Makoto was looking at him silently, and then he asks Kuchi if he can take that child with him, since he wants to choose his punishment to be decided amongst the legends. And he goes on by asking him by saying please. In the end, Sano accepts his request, and says as the head of the Sano's family, he will pass the judgment to the legends. But before he could leave, he comes near that child and says he feels nothing but pure hate towards him, so he should never think about stepping inside the house. To which Yuta asks to him if Sano is really mad. After hearing it, Sano hugs Miroku by saying that he will never forgive that guy if he ever comes close to her. And after saying it, he looks at him menacingly, which scared him. Afterwards, Yuta comes in and tells Sano to leave it at there. And he goes on by taking that kid out from the house. But then Makoto calls Sano, and he asks him if he is actually going to make him disappear. To which he says he won't, since he passed that kid's judgment to him. While Miroku is blushing from his earlier hug. Afterwards, Sano slowly whispers to Makoto that he doesn't hold that type of powers anymore, which shocked him. After saying it, he picks up Makoto's head, and he placed it on his body. Afterwards, he tells to him that the makeup tests are due tomorrow, since he didn't showed up yesterday. Plus, Sano also ran away from the school yesterday. They both have to take the makeup tests on tomorrow. Afterwards, Makoto's head falls down, while he says then he will come tomorrow. Afterwards, Sano started to think, when he became the head of the family, his grandfather swore that they will gain the trust of the legends again, and to accomplish that he basically nullified their Sano family's power, which was two of their many powers. Kataru says the first power he nullified was making the urban legends disappear with their words. Also, the second one should be used only when he is in love, to which the small Sano asks him why he shouldn't use it. Kataru says the last head of the family misused the power to lure in many urban legends and enslave them. After hearing it, small Sano asks him if it's wrong to fall in love with urban legends. To which he replies with no, it's not wrong, he can fall in if he can. Afterwards, Kataru says if he actually finds someone he loves, he shouldn't confess his love to them while thinking that he is the head of the family, but rather he should think him as a normal boy that's in love. Otherwise, the power will work on them, which is like a poison to them. And he goes on by saying no matter it's in human or legend, he can fall in love with anyone. After hearing it, small Sano says then he will make sure that they know how much he loves them. But then Yuta comes in and asks him if he already have someone he loves, to which he quickly says he don't. But somehow he feels like he have a feeling on someone, but this just confused Yuta. But small Sano was thinking that he feels like he will meet her someday, which was Miroku saving him from those bullies. Afterwards, at the present, Miroku asks him on how long is he planning to hug her, to which he replies he wants to stay like this for a while. But then she looks at him and says, "Why is he this close?" And he was just staring at her silently. Suddenly, he says that his gut was right. While opening her ears, after doing it, he blows air in it, which shocked Miroku. Afterwards, in the other side, that kid was shocked after hearing that he have to live alongside Mary. But then Makoto tells him to call her respectfully, to which he shouts at Makoto, if he were to get a punishment, isn't it supposed to be burning alive or getting boiled? To which Yuta says they all voted for this punishment. Since he can mimic everyone, he got a wrong idea that he knows everything about everyone, but in reality he is far from truth. Afterwards, Viola comes in and says by being with Mary, he will be able to learn many things since she used to be with a human before. And she goes on by asking Mary, isn't she used to be with a human? To which with a sad look she says something like that. Afterwards, Makoto says Mary has been looking for a successor for a while now. But then Mary asks that child to become her son, which shocked him. And he started to panic, while Makoto asks her if it's about the successor thing, to which she says yes. And she goes on by saying, unlike Miroku, who is looking to expand her life, she doesn't care if she ends up vanishing one day. Afterwards, that kid started to say who would listen to a doll like this, to which Yuta says that Mary is good at looking after others, but still if something were to come up like this kid is doing something bad to her, he will turn him into a stone to bone, which scared him, while she says that she will call him when the time comes. Afterwards, Yuta says that he likes this place even though it's his first time here, to which Viola tells to him they decided to stay here because Miroku and others live nearby to this place. But then Mary comes near to the kid saying that she has something to confirm, but he was shocked to see her teleport. Afterwards, she started to ask him, unlike Makoto, who is a zombie, he can turn into anyone he thinks, right? And she tells him to throw away his other copies, because she is going to turn him into a new urban legend, which shocked him. And he tells to her it's not possible. Afterwards, she says at first he will try to imitate her, but as the time goes he will learn what is important. And that's when he won't needs to imitate anyone. At that time, he would have become a fully fledged legend. After that, she says, how does it feel? After hearing it, both of them were staring into each other for a while. And in the end, he says okay. In the end, Mary asks that kid to tell his name, to which he replies, his name is Satoru. And then Mary tells her name. As a result, both of them shaked their hands. Afterwards, Makoto explains the details to Sano, which was Mary took Satoru as an heir. And he goes on by asking to Sano if it's really possible for a urban legend to change her storyline, to which Sano says at some point the urban legend stories were mixed up and they will evolve as the generation change. Even Miroku was affected since her story used to be more extreme, to which Makoto replies that she used to be more colder than now. Afterwards, when he returned home, Miroku cut her hair, which shocked him. And she asks him on how she looks, to which he says it's fine. Afterwards, he asks to her on why she cut her hair, to which she says she was trying to play Hazami game and ended up cutting it. Hazami is an old game where they will take a pair of scissors and cut the wind while repeating the word Hazami, and move in the direction where the sound is getting louder and louder. But then while she was playing it, she somehow ended up cutting her one side hair. So she cuts the other one too, but in the end the object she was searching was in her pocket. In the old time, the slit-mouth women used to carry a pair of scissors, which made her to become a dangerous being. After remembering it, Sano asks to her on what happened to the scissors she used to have, to which she says in general scissors are a dangerous object, and if she is not careful she might hurt someone. So as a result, she is not carrying it anymore. And then she goes on by saying it sure was helpful to scare others, but while she was saying Sano was looking at her silently, and then she notices his expression change after looking at her hair, and she tells to him that her hair will go back to normal by the morning, so he doesn't need to worry, which made Sano to get happy. But then she notices this as well. Afterwards, she comes near him and asks to him which hairstyle he likes, But then, with a serious expression, he tells to her that he likes her hair long, which shocked her, and she started to say that she was expecting him to say that he don't care how she looks, she is always beautiful. To which he says that she knows him very well, and then he touches her ears, and he starts to say whether if it's short or long he will still like it. Afterwards, while blushing, she thinks that it somehow feels nostalgic. Suddenly, she says even if her mouth is slit or not, he is going to say he love her, isn't it? But then Kuchi interrupts her and says even if she is a human or not, man or female, an animal, or a microorganisms, no matter what she is will become, he will still love her. In the end, she tells him to stop, since it's kind of scaring her, but he still tells her that he prefers the long hair version, since the short hair is reminding him of Makoto. In the end, she leaves the place while saying it's kind of anticlimactic, since when he said he prefers long hair, she thought he would have more interesting reason, something like a bad experience with short hair girls. To which he smilingly dodges the question. Afterwards, he thinks to himself, maybe he do have one. Afterwards, in the school, his friends were leaving the school. Before leaving, they noticed something, which was a girl, and they asked to her on what happened, and what is she doing in the second-year shoe locker? After looking at them, she started to mock them by calling them as a monkey dog and peasants, and she realizes that this guy goes in the same class as him. Afterwards, she tells them to deliver it to someone, and they were shocked to see the thing she was holding, since it was a love letter. But then she tells to them, this love letter is for Kuchi.